They say that practice makes perfect, but I don't believe in that. I believe that perfect practice makes perfect. If you're studying a subject and you're learning little facts here and there about this subject, and you're reading paragraph upon paragraphs about the matter, but you have no idea what's going on, then are you really studying? So I've been drawing for a really long time, and within that time period, I never really sat down and actually studied anatomy. I've always pushed it aside and told myself, well, one day I'll get around to it. Months started to pass by, and those months turned into years. And this year, something in me just snapped, and I finally became fed up with my lazy habits, and I decided to pick up the pencil and just study. In today's video, I'm going to tell you guys how I study anatomy. So I've been practicing anatomy every day in the month of October. It was really hard at first because I had no idea where to even start. But I was determined, so I pushed myself to study even if it was hard. By the end of the month, anatomy was still difficult for me, but it was starting to become a little easier as each new day passed. I'm still not a pro at drawing anatomy, but I will say I am way better than when I started. One of the very first things I did was I headed to YouTube and I typed into the search bar, how to learn anatomy. And lots of videos popped up and I watched a ton of them. I sat down and I tried to understand how these artists were studying anatomy themselves. I wanted to know how they tackled such a hard task because I had no idea where to even start. When it comes to studying things in general, it can be really hard for myself sometimes because it can feel really overwhelming. It can feel like I'm just jumping into a big ocean with no knowledge of how to even swim. But I'm learning that things take time, and instead of trying to tackle things head on, instead what I'm learning to do is to break down my learning into small pieces and go from there. For example, if studying anatomy as a whole seems really difficult, what you could do is first start off with the head and learn where to place the eyes, how to draw different chin shapes, and things like that. Then you can move on to studying the torso and see how it can twist and bend, and once you master that, move on to the legs and so on and so forth. With every video that I watched, I started to see that there was a pattern in each one. Almost every artist had a method to simplify anatomy. I've seen that a lot of these artists like to break down poses into simple shapes like ovals, rectangles, circles, squares, etc. And they basically stacked these shapes onto each other and created poses like this. And so that's what I did. I took this method and made it my own. This is where I started on my journey to learning anatomy. I went on Pinterest and went to work. I looked at any and every figure that came onto my little For You page thing, and I drew them. I tried to see what shapes fit certain areas of the body. I'm still struggling with what shapes I should use for the torso. I see some people use an upside down triangle, while others use a rounded rectangle. For these studies, I try to find people who have either tighter or minimal clothing so I can focus in more on the movement of their body rather than drawing the folds of their clothing or trying to guess which direction their torso or hips are in. I've seen that ballet and figure skaters tend to fit this criteria for me, so I've been drawing a lot of them recently. When drawing the figures, I try to focus in on what direction everything is going in. For example, every time I draw a figure, I draw guidelines at the shoulders and hips to break down the movement of the pose even further. This really helps to guide me while I draw because by doing this, I can really start to try to understand that the torso and hips move from side to side and bend in certain ways, and they're not just these stiff objects without any movement. I mean, this is common knowledge, of course, but it can be really easy to forget while you're actually drawing. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say that I've been learning each and every muscle and bone names like that because I haven't. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. For me personally, it can be already hard to sit down and do art studies because I get distracted a lot. But that doesn't mean that you guys should follow in my lazy footsteps. If you find it beneficial to learn each and every muscle, then by all means, learn them. I think it can be beneficial to learn some of the muscles and how they bend, but again, I'm really lazy when it comes to that, and when I try to even attempt to learn it, my attention span turns into a goldfish, and I just end up doing something else. One day I will probably learn some of the muscles and things like that, but I didn't study that in the 31 days I was studying anatomy, so don't bash me too hard in the comments, okay? Another way I study anatomy is by doing gesture drawings. There's this website called Line of Action, and you can study nude models or covered figures, and then you can choose the time interval that you would like each figure to stay on the screen. I usually choose clothed models and 1 to 2 minute time intervals. With this practice, I try to capture the overall movement of the character in a really short amount of time, and at the same time working on my observational skills. This exercise also helps with my overall speed while drawing. By forcing myself to draw figures in a certain amount of time, this forces me to become quicker while drawing figures and their movement, which is a bonus for me because that's what I'm personally aiming for while drawing. I want to be able to draw quicker so I can be able to draw manga pages real fast. That's why I started learning anatomy in the first place. My goal is to be able to draw 4 pages of manga a day so I can eventually put out a series. But I have to do a few more studies before I can even get to that point. Moving on to the head, the piece of anatomy that a lot of artists love to draw. There are a lot of different elements that go into drawing the head. There's learning how to draw hair, short hair and long hair, different like hairstyles, the eyes, nose, mouth, and side profiles. When it comes to drawing different movements of the head, I like to go over to Pinterest again and look at close-up shots of different people with their head in all kinds of different directions. I try to use a guideline that goes across the entire face, and that line will dictate what direction that I will be drawing the face in. Then I like to draw 2 lines that go horizontal that wrap around the face. This is a guideline for the eyes and where they will go. I then draw 2 oval shapes, and this will be the placement of the eyes. And then I make some markings for the placement of the nose, ears, and mouth. I know the guidelines can be annoying sometimes, but they really are helpful when you know how to use them. One day I want to be able to draw with little to no guidelines like the artist Kim Jung-gi. I hope I didn't butcher his name. Recently I learned that when you're drawing the head in different directions that the eye shape can change as well. The eyes are not just one unit that stays one shape. They can change shape when the head is looking to the left, right. The eyes even look different when they're looking up and down. It's very fascinating. The pupils in the eye can also change shape, well, kinda. For example, when the eyes expand / when someone is doing a shocked face, you can see almost the full pupil sometimes. And when someone squints their eyes, it can look like the eye shape expands outwards. The eyes and eyebrows can be very expressive when it comes to trying to show emotion in your character, and can be a key element to utilize for your characters, especially if you're trying to draw comics like me. Next we have the legs and arms. Again, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when it comes to drawing these sections of the body, I'm no expert. I still struggle with different angles of the legs and arms, but I especially struggle with folding them. But I'm practicing and slowly getting better. I think I just need to do solo studies of these 2 parts. I seen a short guide of someone teaching people how to draw a leg, and it said that 4 heads can fit inside of a leg. Let me explain. 2 heads from the pelvis area to the knee, and 2 more heads from the knee to the ankle area. I don't know how true this is, but so far this tip has been working fine for me. When I can't figure out how long a leg should be, I just lightly draw 4 ovals within a leg, and it seems to do the trick for me. When it comes to drawing the arms, I like to draw them like a stick. 2 sticks stacked on top of each other, and then a small ball to represent the joint in the elbow. Then I draw a glove to represent the hand. I usually don't really draw the full hand right now because I like to do solo studies of the hand and fingers by themselves. I think it's important to learn the different curves of the arms and legs. Some parts, like the back of the leg, is curved, while some parts of the front of the leg can be drawn straight. Overall, these past 31 days have been a ride, I will say. Some days were stressful because the figures I was drawing weren't exactly how I wanted them to look like, but by the end of it all, drawing the figure became easier. My studies when it comes to anatomy are not over, but yet only the beginning. With every day that passes, I feel like I learned something new, even if it's super small. I feel like I've improved a lot since the beginning of this project, and I'm super proud of myself. When it comes to drawing anatomy, in my opinion, it all just comes down to simplifying everything and finding out what works for you. The methods that work for me might not work for you, and that's okay. There's still a lot of things for me to learn, but that's just a part of the art journey that people go on in hopes of getting better. I heard a quote somewhere, I forgot who it's from, but it basically said, "Motivation won't get you to your goal, but dedication will." And that seems to be really true, because some days I feel lazy and I don't really feel like doing my art studies, but then I remind myself of the goals that I have, and sometimes I will admit that I even push myself to do my art studies, and I push through the sluggish feelings of being lazy. If you have a goal and you're really passionate about it, you gotta be dedicated and be your own motivation and push yourself no matter the obstacles. Don't forget to subscribe if the things I said in this video today helped you out in some way. And let me know what kind of things that you guys struggle with when it comes to drawing. Well, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.